Welcome back to the Alignment and Healing Podcast, where laughter meets inner peace. We're your host, Shaka.
And I'm Kiana.
And we just want to thank everyone for tuning in to another episode of your favorite podcast. Thank you to everyone that liked and subscribed to our channel. And if you're new here, please remember to smash that subscribe button. We really appreciate all of your support. Now, before we begin this episode, we want to talk about just want to ensure that we let you guys know, make a disclaimer, is that we want to acknowledge that today's episode discusses topic of sexual harassment. And this content may be distressing or triggering for some of our listeners, as it involves conversations around personal boundaries being violated and the impact of such actions on individuals as well as the community. Mm-hmm. Please prioritize your well-being while listening and feel free to step away if needed. So listener discretion is advised. Let's dive in.
Yeah, thank you so much for that disclaimer. And please take the trigger warning seriously. We do not want to potentially trigger anyone because your well-being is of utmost importance to us. So definitely please step away if this is a triggering topic for you. So yes, today we're talking about sexual assault, and this month of April, it is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we're addressing specifically sexual harassment in Caribbean spaces. There's this perception that because, the Caribbean, in our society, we're a laid-back culture, that we're less formal about certain issues, including sexual harassment. And we want to talk about that, and we want to talk about what contributes to that kind of behavior. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Because it's a combination of like the historical, cultural, and like socioeconomic factors that kind of make us a little bit laid back towards sexual harassment. However, that can have serious implications on how these incidents are reported, because sexual harassment as a whole is so underreported because people are afraid to step up. So when we have certain factors where it's not taken seriously, it's even more so less reported.
Yes.
And this is, this kind of stuff make it seem like, should we even take this person seriously? And as a community, should we even consider this sexual harassment? Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's get into what is sexual harassment and the types of sexual harassment.
Yeah, so there are very common types. Physical harassment, mm-hmm. right? Verbal. So, this is the actual physical touching, and verbal telling you any kind of sexual stuff. We also have visual harassment. So basically that one is someone sending you or showing you or mm-hmm. by text or whatever some sexual explicit content. This also includes cyber harassment. So even the use of, any kind of digital platform, social media, WhatsApp, on your Facebook, people commenting, any kind of stalking or sharing or anything in your DMs, all mm-hmm. of those things can be cyber harassment. Mm-hmm. Also, psychological harassment, whereby somebody's spreading rumors about mm-hmm. you, about someone's personal sexual life. Either they're making it up or even sharing things that may have happened. That is psychological sexual harassment, and especially in the Caribbean society, in Caribbean society, what happens there is that because it's such a small place, mm-hmm. right? Because it's such a small place, those things make an even bigger impact. Especially mm-hmm. because, everybody knows everyone. So a rumor could really be a big deal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember almost fighting a schoolmate of mine, like, in high school because he was spreading rumors. So, yeah, we don't promote violence, but I almost beat him up. So, yeah, and just to go back to physical harassment, just wanted to highlight, physical harassment is specifically on any unwanted touch
yes.
that is, happens to you in a sexual way, as long as there's no consent, it's physical harassment. Like, no is no.
Exactly.
Maybe is no. Unless you get an explicit yes, then everything else is no. And if the yes changes to no, then it's no.
Yes.
So yeah, we also want to talk about this mentality we have, like the do for do, you know, kind of, we would say in the Caribbean. Like, this typically occurs when a person in a position of power or authority demands like sexual favor in exchange for jobs, for benefits, promotion, stuff like that. And that happens a lot in the workplaces, and we might not realize like, oh, this is sexual harassment. You might hear someone like, oh, she's never the boss, and that can be, you know, that can be a very tricky situation, because hence why a lot of companies have clauses that prevented like people who are managers to be directly with like their employees that is underneath them, because it poses this position of power imbalance.
Correct.
So a lot of times there's a phrase called quid pro quo, which translates as something for something,
basically,
or
like
sort of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So do for do is like our version of explaining that.
Yeah.
So that's something to pay attention to, especially if, you know, you're working and there's a boss, whether it's a male boss or female boss, whoever, it don't matter, as long as you're a boss and they're hitting on you. Definitely take that seriously, because it's never just that. And then hostile work environment. This is a form of harassment that creates like you know, like if they're trying to hustle you, basically, you're like trying to hit on you, and you know, you're intimidated by it because you don't know what to do, because if you want your job, essentially, you want peace, you want to be able to go to work, make your money, go home, and sometimes you might find yourself doing things to appease whoever just so that they can leave you alone, whether it's unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct, even like you mentioned, verbally, like talking sexual things around you, and you have no interest and you've asked them to stop. That is sexual harassment as well.
Yes.
And it can interfere with your work and your performance, and it can be intimidating and hostile as well. So tell us, what are some factors affecting like our laid back approach to sexual harassment?
All right, so basically awareness and education, definitely that can cause a laid back approach, because if we're not aware, because a lot of times in the Caribbean we don't even know what sexual harassment is. We know the word sexual harassment, we know the term, what it is, but honestly,
but we often attribute it only to physical, and even that, people don't even consider certain things sexual harassment. But
exactly. So so definitely that's true. So we don't even pay attention to it, and unless it's like extreme, like ever to go to the point of rape or whatever, and that's when people might think, you know, it's something serious. But so we don't even know exactly what it is. So awareness and education is definitely a factor, not knowing exactly what it is. What else could it be? You want to talk about
so community response, because a lot of us are from like small communities, and because we're part of a small community, there may be a reluctance to like air your dirty laundry out, and some families love to keep secrets, because a lot of times, most times, the person, the abuser, is someone that the victim or the survivor knows. So a lot of times people do not want to let that come out of the family, especially if it's a family member. And as a society and a community, we need to be, be better at regulating the people who are in power, holding them accountable when necessary, taking firm actions against them, especially when there's evidence that they screwed up. Like, we need to be able to put systems in place to ensure that they are held accountable for their actions. And then the cultural norms and attitudes. So tell us about that, like what some Caribbean countries can do about, like, our attitude in general to sexual assault.
Yeah, exactly. So in some Caribbean countries, definitely are norms with gender norms specifically, right? We do allow men to be, boys to be boys, or that kind of attitude. So when they do or make comments or whatever, they're saying, okay, well, that's just how it is. That's how men are. But but if they like sexual harass a woman or whatever, or the woman like wearing something short or something like that, and be like, oh well, that's her fault for doing that. That's why the boys are talking to her as she passed by. And you know, obviously sexual harassment could happen to men as well, so we're not leaving you out. But a lot of time, because we have a strong masculine society, that can definitely escalate. And because of that culture, we allow or continue to allow sexual harassment to happen, because we don't even see compliments, unwanted compliments as sexual harassment. And you know, people like, oh, y'all doing the most.
Yeah, like catcalling, like
yes, all those things are considered sexual harassment, right? So people might think, you know, oh well, it's harmless flirtation. Actually, it's definitely not. It constitutes as sexual harassment. So that's something that we need to change our mindset, right? The next one is our economic situation, right? Especially people in power definitely can contribute to escalating the sexual harassment, because if somebody is rich or whatever, and somebody that's not so rich, exactly, and they report it, they absolutely not they you know, a lot of times they don't even care to even look at it, because this person is in a position of power, or they pay off, or the family pay off and stuff like that. So the person now who dealt with it is left dealing with it, no justice whatsoever, because the family took payoff, right? So we have a very, very laid back way of looking at sexual harassment, like, because one, we don't even know what it is, or like, oh, it's not a big deal, they, you know, you might even die, and what's a little call, what's a little, you know, a little.
But it's traumatizing. Like, you know, I remember growing up, because I'm, you know, tall girls, like even being a minor and like walking on the streets, and you know, groups of men like hanging, liming together, and just like cat calling me. And I was a child. I was pretty terrified. So those things are not. It's never just that, you know. And as a community, we have our responsibility to ensure that, you know, we hold people who are abusers accountable. And you know, if you're an adult and you're walking and you're seeing that, like you're catcalling a child, like, yo, stop that. What's up with that? Like, you know,
exactly. So what can we do as a society to, you know, at least make it better?
Yeah, well, definitely we encourage you to educate yourselves on what each of the types of sexual abuses, because we went over like an overview, because it's a lot of information, and you know, it's important information. Learn about the legal and the policy changes within your own community, within your own country, so that, you know, you're able to be aware of what's going on and be able to contribute to a culture that respect and support, like, you know, equality amongst everyone. And definitely provide information resources for those affected by sexual harassment, or those looking to get involved in advocacy efforts, because I believe there's like so many different programs, you know, local programs that's available. So definitely look into it as well. And if you're someone who, you know, dealt with that kind of abuse, you know, definitely seek help, because there is, you know, places you can go where you can get treatment. If you're over in America, there are definitely places you can go. And if you need some help in navigating that, please send us a message and we'll be happy to assist you.
Yes, exactly. And remember, you are definitely not alone, and nothing is wrong with speaking out. Even though somebody might not think it's serious, it's important to speak out, because that's how you feel.
Yes.
Right? So it is important to validate your feelings as well.
Yes.
So just want to remind you that this is, as before we said, that it could be a triggering topic, right? Because it is conversation surrounding sexual harassment. All right. So thank you so much for listening to us today.
Absolutely. And something just came up, you know, mothers, I don't know why that came up, but if your child, you know, come to you and talks about, like, you know, someone has been touching them or telling them or whatever inappropriate stuff, please do the necessary work to investigate that situation. Don't minimize their, you know, their complaints.
It's true.
And don't sweep it under the rug, because it's important for you parents especially to be advocates for your children.
Yes.
for everyone else, be advocate for yourselves and for others, because kids deserve to be protected at all costs, as we will say time and time again on this podcast.
Yes.
So please do the necessary work to investigate what your children are saying. Don't automatically think that what they're saying is not true.
Correct.
So, well, this is, brought us to the end of the episode. Like, it was a heavy topic today, but, like always, we thank you so much for listening. And, we wanted to highlight sexual abuse because it is Sexual Harassment Awareness Month. So we wanted to ensure that as a community, we talk about stuff like this because it is important.
Yes.
And like we said, we're bringing the alignment and the healing.
Correct.
So these are parts of the healing portion, and we are going to get to the root of it and heal together. So like always, please subscribe, like, and share with your loved ones. We appreciate all of your support. So like always,
bust a line, bust a line. See you next time.